Let's get one thing straight. There's a man you were taught to be, and there's a man women secretly crave. The world told you to be nice, to be accommodating, to text good morning like a faithful rooster, and to plan surprise dates as if your effort were a currency for affection. And you listened. You became the man who sends paragraphs when she sends a single word. The man whose heart pounds in his chest waiting for a reply. The man who believes his goodness is a shield that will one day earn him her loyalty. That man is a ghost. He gets smiles, he gets polite thank yous, and he gets to watch from the sidelines as she gives her body, her soul, and her obsessive, sleepless nights to a man who seems to do nothing at all. This isn't about being a bad guy. It's about understanding a brutal truth of human nature. Women don't surrender to the man who tries to impress them. They surrender to the man whose very presence makes their own identity feel small. In comparison, they don't give their heart to the performer. They give it to the man who exists like gravity, heavy, centered, unbothered, and utterly unshakable. You don't chase, you don't prove, you don't perform. Your silence starts to scream louder than any love letter you could ever write. And when you carry yourself like that, brother, women don't just want you. They begin to need you on a primal level. They will lie, cheat, manipulate, and burn down the comfortable life they've built just for a chance to orbit your certainty. Not because you tried to win them, but because you became a force they couldn't move. It all begins with a single, seismic shift in your mind, the shift from seeking to selecting. Think of a man named David. David was the quintessential nice guy. When he met Isabella, he was immediately captivated. He saw her as a prize to be won, a summit to be conquered. Through meticulous effort, his life, once his own, became a strategic campaign to win her affection. His texts were not conversations, they were carefully drafted essays, overthought and edited to project the perfect blend of wit, intelligence, and sensitivity. He'd reread her short, often delayed replies, searching for clues, for a sliver of hope, a sign that his efforts were landing. He lost sleep, not wondering how to build his future, but wondering if he was good enough for a woman who hadn't earned a damn thing from him but his obsession. David would plan dates with the precision of a military operation, a surprise picnic with her favorite foods, tickets to a niche indie band she mentioned once, a thoughtful gift for no reason other than it was a Tuesday. Isabella would smile, say, "Aw, that's so sweet," and the validation would feel like a drug, a temporary hit that would soothe his anxiety for a few hours. But he could feel it, a deep, unsettling coldness beneath the surface. He was doing everything right, yet he felt like he was losing. Her energy was distant, her enthusiasm was forced, and her eyes would sometimes look right through him. The breaking point came on a cool autumn evening. He had planned the perfect night, a reservation at a rooftop restaurant he could barely afford. He'd confirmed with her that morning. An hour before they were supposed to meet, his phone buzzed. It was a text from her. "Hey, so sorry. Something came up with my friend. Totally forgot. Can we rain check?" The old David would have immediately replied, "Of course, no problem at all. Hope everything is okay." But something in him snapped. Later that night, scrolling through social media with a hollow feeling in his gut, he saw it. A story posted by one of her friends. There was Isabella, laughing, drink in hand, at a crowded bar. In the background, leaning against the wall, was a man he vaguely recognized. He was older, with a rugged, indifferent look on his face. He wasn't smiling at her or even paying her much attention. He was just there, talking to someone else, centered in his own world. But Isabella's body language, her frequent glances in his direction, her animated storytelling, it was all for him. She was the one performing. That image burned into David's soul. He had offered a kingdom of effort, and she had chosen the man who offered nothing but his unbothered presence. The pain was immense, but beneath it was a flicker of something else, clarity. He wasn't losing her because he was a bad man. He was losing her because he wasn't a man she could respect. He had approached her like a beggar hoping for scraps, not a king surveying his court. He had asked, "Will she like me?" instead of the question that changes everything, "Is she worthy of my energy?" That night, David made a vow. He would stop. He would stop the overthinking, the chasing, the performing. He wouldn't become cold or cruel, but he would become steel. He would turn his focus inward with the intensity of a laser. His new mission wasn't to win Isabella or any woman. His mission was to build a man that he himself would be proud to be. He deleted her number, not with rage, but with a quiet, solemn finality. He was walking away from the game he had been losing so spectacularly. He was going to build his own. This is the forge. The truth is, women crave leadership, but not the kind that bosses them around. They crave the man who leads himself. The man who doesn't argue when she's being irrational because his peace is more valuable. The man who doesn't beg when she pulls away because his purpose is his anchor. The man who can stand still when her emotional storm hits and who will walk away if the storm becomes the norm. That man, the one who is born from the ashes of neediness, is the one she dreams about at night. Even while sleeping next to someone else, women don't fall for logic, they fall for energy. And the rarest, most potent energy in a man is calm. Detachment. It's the energy that radiates from your very core and says, without a word, I want you, but I don't need you. I am here now, but I could walk away forever without a sound. That energy is the death blow to her ego and the birth of her obsession. You are no longer another guy trying to get her attention. You are the man who values his peace over her pleasure, his growth over her validation, his purpose over her presence. And when you walk like that, talk like that, and live like that, she starts offering you everything. Not because you demanded it, but because she is terrified of being invisible to you again. That, brother, is when you have her soul. Let me tell you something brutally honest. Women are not loyal to your potential. They are loyal to your power, not dominance, not control, but the sheer, unshakable force of your presence. They crave the man whose silence is louder than another. Man's symphony of compliments. The man whose schedule is tight not with games, but with legacy building. The man whose voice never rises in anger, but whose authority fills the room. When you begin to operate from this frequency, she starts to lose sleep over you. She checks her phone every 5 minutes wondering why you haven't texted. She cries over your indifference, not because you hurt her, but because she's finally realized that your life was never about her in the first place. This is the paradox that breaks a woman's psychology. She will try to change you, to soften you, to pull you into her emotional chaos. Because if she can get you to react, she owns you. But if you stay still, if you remain unfazed, if you never text her again after she disrespects you, her entire fantasy of control shatters. She realizes she can't mold you, bait you, or trigger you. Now she sees you not as a man, but as a force of nature. And that is what women truly surrender to. 6 months after David deleted Isabella's number, he was a different man. The transformation wasn't just external though. He was leaner, stronger, his style more refined. The real change was internal. It was in the way he walked, with a slow, deliberate confidence. It was in his eyes, which were calm and steady, no longer scanning every room for approval. He had poured all the energy he once spent chasing Isabella into building his kingdom. His business, once a side hustle, was now thriving. He read voraciously philosophy, history, finance. He learned to sit in silence, to be alone without being lonely. His energy, once a frantic, pleading broadcast, was now a low, powerful hum. He started dating again, but with a new framework. He was the selector. He went on a date with a woman named Maya. She was beautiful, intelligent, and used to men falling over themselves for her. On their first date, she tested him. She brought up a controversial topic, looking for an emotional argument. The old David would have become flustered, trying to agree or nervously debate. The new David simply listened, nodded slowly, and said with a calm smile, "I see it differently." He didn't explain, didn't justify. He just held his frame. Maya was visibly thrown off. She wasn't used to a man who didn't need her to agree with him. Later that week, she played the classic game. She went quiet. She stopped texting first. The old David's mind would have been a hornet's nest of anxiety. Did I say something wrong? Is she not interested? The new David didn't even notice for a day. He was busy, locked into his work. When he did notice, he felt a flicker of the old insecurity. But it was just a ghost. He didn't chase, he didn't send a "Hey, is everything okay?" text. He just continued living his life. 2 days later, his phone lit up. It was Maya. "Hey, you," followed by "Been a crazy couple of days. How have you been?" He knew, with absolute certainty, that her days hadn't been crazy. She had been waiting, testing his resolve. He waited an hour, then replied simply, "All good, locked, and on a project, hope you're well." The dynamic had flipped. She started working for his time. Her texts became more engaging. She asked about his goals, his mindset. She adjusted to him, and he learned one of the most powerful lessons. Unpredictability is not about chaos, it's about emotional independence. Because his responses weren't governed by a need for her, she couldn't predict them. This uncertainty became an itch she couldn't scratch, and her investment grew dailier then. Inevitably, the ghost from the past reappeared. A text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Isabella. Long time no see." David looked at the message, and for the first time, felt nothing. No anger, no excitement, no pain. Just a profound sense of indifference. He was no longer the man who had pleaded for her attention. He was the prize now, and he knew it. This is the crucial point. None of this works if you're faking it. You can't pretend to be grounded while obsessively watching her stories. Women can smell desperation under a thin veneer of fake detachment. But when it's real, when you are genuinely indifferent because you are so locked into your own vision, that is when she feels utterly powerless around you. He agreed to meet her for coffee. Not for closure, he was his own closure. He went out of curiosity, to look his past in the face. She arrived looking stunning, but there was a nervousness about her he'd never seen before. She was the one overthinking, trying to impress him. She talked about her life, but kept circling back to him, asking about his business, his travels. She apologized for how she had treated him. "I was a mess back then," she said, her voice soft. The old David would have melted, but the new David just nodded. "We all have our paths," he said, his voice calm, and even in that moment, she saw it. She hadn't just lost a guy she took for granted. She had lost a man she wasn't ready for. She had lost the version of him that begged, and in his place was a king. He didn't hate her. He didn't resent her. Worse, she didn't matter enough to him to warrant strong emotion. That quiet indifference was more devastating to her ego than any insult he could have hurled. He finished his coffee, wished her well, and walked away. He didn't look back. He was not walking away from her. He was walking toward his future. He understood now. The man who is willing to walk away without anger, who lets his silence become the mirror in which she sees her own mistakes, is the man who becomes unforgettable. He becomes the standard every man after him is measured against, and no one quite compares. This is the ultimate power. It's not about manipulating women. It's about mastering yourself so profoundly that your presence naturally filters your reality. The wrong women, the ones who thrive on chaos and manipulation, eliminate themselves. They call you cold or arrogant and vanish. But the right women, the ones who crave strength, stability, and authentic masculine leadership, they don't just stay, they submit, not out of fear, but out of a deep, soul-level admiration. They finally feel safe to be feminine because they are in the presence of a man who cannot be moved. He is the mountain, and she can finally stop being the storm.